Hello again world, Justin Tucker here, moving on with this video tutorial series. We left off at the content type of product display, and I left off there because unlike the other content types, this is going to be the form that lets us dive into products, product types, line item types, all that kind of stuff that we created the shells of earlier. So really all this is going to do is be a little bit of lecture and creating a field, at least on here, a couple fields. The main field that's really going to matter that allows us to create a product display that has products on it is going to be the field type of product reference. So we have entity reference, we have product reference, we have term reference, and that product reference is what we need. And I'm just going to call this reference products. And I'm actually going to make this an inline entity form, multiple values. The reason I like this is because it brings in the form to actually create the product in the product display. So let me kind of explain what that means. Let me go ahead and do a little lecture here. So a product display is like a bucket. You can think of it that way. The product display contains variations. So a great example is we'll have a product display of, well, shirt. Okay? And inside that shirt product display will be products of the different variations of shirts. So if we have 3 sizes and 3 colors, 3 times 3 is 9, so we have 9 variations. And that's what's going on here, is we are basically, we've already made the product display, we've already made the bucket, we've already made the thing that will contain variations, and when we make an instance of this, we're going to maybe call it shirt, and then inside there is going to be 9 different products, and those 9 different products are going to come through this field that we're creating here, and that's why we need to call it multiple values, because we're going to want to add more than just one. So very important field, and it's really important to understand what's going on here. Even if you just are going to have one variation, okay, that's fine. You still want to put it inside of a product display, inside of a bucket, inside of a container, if you will. So that's what we're doing here. Let's go ahead and save this. Now we're going to get some configuration options, which are unique to this field, like all the other fields. We don't want to have any limit on how many we can add. And you can kind of read some of this and see what's going on here. But the product types that could be referenced. So right now we're going to leave this blank, and we'll be able to reference any product type when we create an instance of this field. This is going to be important. I'm going to allow users to add new products. I'm going to allow users to add existing products and search for it by a contains value. I'm not going to allow any cloning. I think this is kind of dangerous. Delete the reference products when the parent entity is deleted. If you do this and this isn't checked, then what happens is the products that belong to the product display, meaning the 9 variations of t-shirts that belong to the product display of shirt, will be orphaned. They will not understand they belong to the product display of shirt. So I don't like to check that. Override labels, yes. Well, we'll just call this product, and like they have it, products. If this was just for memberships, for example, we would say this. Okay, but we're going to, for now at least, allow this to be generic and kind of flexible. We may find ourselves adding a different content type or a different type of product display. But for now, we'll do it like this. I don't like checking this either. I like having full control over the product title. And then we're going to want to allow multiple values here. So save that. Actually, now that I think about it, I know for a fact this won't work this flexible because of the registration. So let me delete this. Let's actually back up even further and call this content type of product display. Now, don't change the machine name. I know I've said that before, and here I am doing it again. I don't have any instances of this filled out, so I'm not worried about it. Let's call this registration product display. I will explain why later. Okay, so we're actually going to need a product display almost probably per different product type. So that's kind of a major shift. We just went from product display to registration product display. So let's go back in there and manage these fields. So this will be, well, we can still say reference product or products. I believe we can globally use that field. Everything else I said will probably hold true. Okay, and yes, for this instance, I can say yes, we can only reference the registration product type. The reason we have to do it this way is because, okay, and so here we go. Just a second. So registrations. Actually, yeah, registration. I don't know if we want to call it package or. So a registration product is basically a ticket, okay, in our use case. And we do want to allow multiple because we'll have different packages and we'll have different things to offer. So the reason that we have to do it this way is because when we get into the custom line item types that we created earlier, registration is one of them, and we're going to be adding custom fields to this. One of the steps in telling the products that are entered into this field which line, one of the steps is to tell it which line items that you have created you want to use, and we're going to choose registration. So because we want these fields that we'll be adding here, okay, to show on this product is why we have to pick that. And because this isn't flexible, is why we can't use one product display. We can use one field, one reference product field, but we're probably going to have a product display for the different product types of meals, membership, shirts. Okay? So we're going to deal with the big one right now, the registration product display. This is going to give the ability to create a ticket, essentially, for a referenced registration event, which is the next field that we need to add. And that, I believe, should really be it, because again, this form, let's just take a look at what this is so far. If we have a registration product display, so again, what we're looking at here is the bucket, and this is the interface via this multiple inline entity form multiple values. Because of that is what gives us this experience here. If I hit add new registration product, it brings in the fields to create a new product. Now again, we're not really ready to do this. We probably can do it in this instance, but once we create this, we can create registration product and then add another one. And that is kind of how we'll be adding different products to the registration product display that will then correspond to an event namely the 2018 Perfectly Optimized Annual Conference that we have in this example. So that's what we have going right now. Let's go back into this. And that's really it for the product display. It's actually that simple in terms of those fields. It's going to get a little bit more complicated once we get into the fields that need to go on the product types, because we have managed fields here, and we also have custom line item types. Oops, not add, sorry. And we have managed fields that we're going to add in here. So that will be the next video, and I will leave it at this. So we've basically made the registration product display. One thing I forgot to do, oops, is we do want this to have this checked so this feature can happen, which we will show here and put all together shortly. So again, if you're liking these videos, please subscribe. Hope to make more. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, please reach out, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.